Hi, I'm Eric Schumacher Rasmussen, editor and VP of Streaming Media Magazine, and welcome to day 5 of Streaming Media East Connect. This has been our biggest and, well, still is our biggest Streaming Media Connect ever. We've got another full day of sessions on Monday, and then we've got the Content Delivery Summit, which will be chaired by Dom Robinson, who's moderating this panel today. That's coming up on Tuesday, May 25th. It's not our last virtual conference. We've got one more coming up in August, and we'll have some more information about that available soon. But we are planning to return to in-person events. Hear that? That's me knocking on wood. In November at Streaming Media West in Huntington Beach. So if you're interested in speaking at that event or sponsoring, you can go to the link that Steve Nathans Kelly just posted in the chat. And we're looking to have the program for that up by probably the end of June. As always, this panel and all of our panels are available on demand on our YouTube channel within about 24 hours after they air live. And again, Steve will put the link to that YouTube channel in the chat as well. You can also just go to streamingmedia.com and click on the cleverly labeled tab videos and click conference videos, and it'll take you right there. A couple of housekeeping notes. The chat will be open, but we do request that if you have questions for our panelists that you put them in the Q&A tab. That allows our moderator to keep track of them more easily and they don't get lost in the chat, which can sometimes get a little crowded. Before we jump into the discussion this morning about live streaming at scale, I'd like to thank our diamond sponsor, Signient, for making Streaming Media East Connect possible. And we have a short video message from them.
When the director calls action.
And action.
When the game is on.
Pick it up, it's good.
Or it's time to save the universe again. Media Shuttle is there. Trusted by more than 25,000 media companies, Media Shuttle delivers, making it easy and secure to send any size file anywhere fast. The journey begins with Media Shuttle portals, customized and branded for any project and designed to be so easy, your end users will love it. All while giving operations teams complete control through a simple yet powerful admin interface. Add users, set permissions, customize file delivery specs, and report on all activity. Blast off with proprietary acceleration technology. Media Shuttle moves your content anywhere in the internet-connected world at hyper speeds. Along the way, your files are protected. Our commitment to enterprise-grade security has made Media Shuttle a preferred tool with Hollywood studios, major sports leagues, broadcasters, and more. With Media Shuttle, your files are never handed over to Signient. File movement is orchestrated between the end user's workstation and your storage, whether on-prem or in the cloud. Your IT team simply provisions your storage, connecting it to the Media Shuttle cloud service, and Signient handles the rest. Get started on your Media Shuttle journey today. A journey without limits.
Also like to thank the sponsor of this panel, Verizon Media. And Verizon Media's Darren Lepke will be joining this panel to talk about live streaming at scale. And Dom Robinson, who's got plenty of experience in that area, will be moderating. And you know, the live streaming at scale is one of the biggest challenges and the greatest opportunities in the streaming media industry. And the panel that we've got together can really talk to all aspects of that, both the technical challenges, but also the audience building challenges. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing this discussion. And so I'll ask Dom Robinson to bring up his camera, turn on his mic, and I'll pass it over to him. Hey, Dom, how are you?
Not bad, Eric. How are you?
Doing great. You're calling in as usual from Brighton, and we've got panelists on the west coast of the U.S. who are with us bright and early.
Yeah, absolutely. I normally would do a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, because we are getting pretty global now. So
we are.
Well, that is to all the challenges that we faced over the last year. I have quite enjoyed the fact that I feel like I'm globally networking much more frequently, which is just one of the upsides of the last 12 months.
Yeah, and as much as, you know, we all complain about Zoom fatigue, and we're all feeling it right now, think about what the last year would have been like without things like Zoom, you know?
Right. So, yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, it's been great. With that, I'll pass to you.
Cool, excellent. Well, thanks, Eric, and welcome one and all to the live streaming at scale session. We've got a really interesting panel here. not least because I had a few curveballs when I was gathering the questions and things that threw me. And I've been in and around the live streaming space for, well, actually, it's 20 years ago this month that I wrote my first article for Streaming Media magazine. And although today I wear a hat doing business development for a software company called Ideas, where we build CDN infrastructure, it is an ever-changing space. And although I think about things technically, as you'll find out over the next hour, there are many aspects to scaling live streaming, and they're not all infrastructure-based. So with that, I would like to ask the panelists to join me. I'm going to call you guys out, and I'm going to start with Darren because you're a sponsor, and it's always nice to invite the sponsors up first. So Darren, how are you doing?
Well, Dom, thanks for having me.
Not at all. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is and what your company's doing?
Sure. So I'm the head of video product management at Verizon Media. Verizon Media is a service provider to many of the largest broadcasters and live event producers in the market today. So we power, large sporting events, concerts through our platform, which ingests live content, encodes it on the web, distributes it globally, and then facilitates the kind of playback and monetization of those streams. So it's been great to be in this space like you for 20 years and also to see how much the space has grown to become part of people's lives.
Perfect, excellent. Well, I look forward to talking through with you in a little while. But let's meet some of the other guests before we get into the discussion. So, John, can I ask you to bring up your camera and mic? Hey, John, how you doing?
Doing great.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit about your role and your company and what you guys are doing.
Sure. I'm John Petrocelli. I'm the founder of Bulldog DM. We are the world's most experienced live stream studio, and we provide best practice solutions and services and strategies around live streaming, as well as turnkey services. And we are, been in the space for 9 years. I've been in it for 20 actually. And we've really focused on working with brands, right? So everybody wants to stream these giant live experiences or, even mid-sized. But the reality is, a lot of those dollars and that funding comes from Madison Ave. So we've really focused on them being kind of the driver in the space. And we work with AT&T, Nestle, Snickers, Jeep, Nissan, Samsung, Hyundai, Apple, Spotify, Facebook, and the like. And really have, encountered almost every permutation of a live experience you can imagine. And along the way have learned what to focus on and certainly what to avoid. And I think pertinent to this conversation, the space has certainly exploded in the past year. So eager to have a broader conversation. Yeah.
Definitely got its wheels on this year, without a doubt. Okay, cool. Let's bring the rest of the panel in. Adam, can I ask you to bring your camera and your mic up? We got
Yes,
Adam. Cool. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Doing wonderful. Great to be on this panel here. And I'm Adam Paul, CEO of 7 Cinematics. We are really the production, creative, and logistics arm from the concept of the idea to handing the cord off to the streaming networks, those streaming partners, the streaming services. And I think our kind of simple mantra is we haul a lot of water and chop a lot of wood. We are really kind of the ultra high end wedding caterer for everybody out there, and we really kind of make all of the pieces of the puzzle from the creativity all the way up to handing the cable off. And our approach is ultra creative ideas, cinematic storytelling, cinematic live. And really kind of changing the landscape and the expectation of what a viewer expects to see. And when they come to see one of our streams, they see something completely different, captivating, and engaging, and robust. So, that's what we do. And we try to have a little fun doing it.
Perfect. Excellent. And Mike, are you out there as well? Let's get your mic and camera live.
Hey there. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Tell us about your role in your company and what you guys do.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Kisui, and we sometimes call ourselves humble plumbers. We're that sort of streaming company that tries to really focus on live and make sure that we connect what's happening on the stage to the consumer all around the world. We've had the good fortune of supporting some really, really big, great top talent and trying to deliver their content out to the consumers. But really importantly, and if I think kind of the transformational thing that we've been working on is not just delivering high quality, high availability stuff that works, that's worth paying for down to the consumer around the world, but also to bring that consumer back to the stage. And what we find is the major problem with live streaming is that I'm sitting at home, I might as well be watching a DVD. Right. So our point is you got to take that audience at home. You got to bring them back authentically into the stage in a way that actually matters to them. And when you do that, things change. And then it becomes a real experience. We've been focused on that in sport. We've been focused on that in music. And it's hard to deliver live and do it really, really well. And it's also really hard to take all that audience at home in a brand safe way and bring them to the stage in a way that matters. And that's what we focus in on, is being that I guess a bi-directional plumber. So
perfect, great, excellent. What a crowd. Okay, so there you go for all the audience. That's the crowd we've got with us for the next hour, or 45 minutes now, actually, because we've been such interesting introductions. So what I wanted to do was start off with the elephant in the room and just talk about what the effects of the pandemic have had on live events over the last 12 months and get some picture of what's going on in the market. So I'm going to kind of keep repeating around in the same order around the panel, but guys, wave your hands at me if you want to chip in or interject. So let's start down in the bedrock. Darren, what's from your point of view, from the network infrastructure point of view, what are the key things that you've seen change over the last 12 months?
Yeah, so if you think about live events in kind of three stages, there's the production piece where you're organizing on site with the artists, you're kind of crafting the on-screen experience. There's the contribution piece where you try to get that stream out of the venue into the cloud, and then the actual distribution piece, like getting it from the cloud down to the end users' devices in their homes, right? And there's no doubt that the production workflows have all been virtualized. I'll leave that to Adam or John to speak more about, or Mike. Certainly from the contribution piece, we're seeing kind of an additional level of challenge in that artists are now often remote, where artists used to come to a venue or maybe come to a studio. We are now finding that we have to go where the artists are and making sure that there's good connectivity between John Legend's house in Beverly Hills to the internet is not always the easiest thing you have to do from a network perspective. So there's some interesting challenges there with dedicated connectivity, or perhaps even some 5G connectivity from Verizon. And then from the downstream perspective, the distribution piece, what we've seen is an explosion of interest in content as people were stuck at home and sequestered in place. So on the downstream side of that, from a network perspective, we had to make sure that we had redundancy built in at wherever possible. We've certainly seen a bigger adoption and acceptance of a multi-CDN strategy where producers and distributors are no longer kind of single sourced around one network. And in the end, I think the industry responded and really come through with in some ways an entirely new set of infrastructure to make this happen during the pandemic.
So just sort of, this is almost a question for Content Delivery Summit on Tuesday as well, but while we're sort of talking CDN and so on, do you think that audiences have actually grown, or do you think they've moved? Do you think that your average live concert goer was already online and they were previously watching Disney or the Netflix or whatever it may be, and they've switched from that sort of environment to a live? Or do you think people have come online during the pandemic to watch live content?
There's no doubt that there's more viewers than ever and that have adopted streaming for the first time, right? And I think it's reflected in just the traffic and volume that we're seeing on our network. We're not seeing at Verizon, we do have a fairly large CDN. We distribute for folks like Disney and ESPN and Fox and other services. And it's not that the traffic has stayed the same but shifted to live. The pie is growing. Our network utilization and distribution over the last 12 years has accelerated in ways that we definitely weren't anticipating prior to the pandemic.
Cool, excellent. Okay, well, I'm going to take that same question over to the sort of more production side. John, tell me a bit about what you've seen change over the last 12 months in your space.
Well, certainly this has been a very unique, period in history. And, the big thing that we've noticed is almost a global user behavior adoption of live video in some way, right? So if you're a grandparent, you've done a Zoom session with your family. If you're a child, you've done some distance learning. I think everybody's gone to a virtual conference like we're doing right now, and almost everybody's watched, a concert on a platform like Instagram where the versus battles. So, this is, a global situation. As a result, certainly consumption is off the charts. You could look at this through the lens of even the live music business is a $25 billion industry that's been on hold for 14 or 15 months. And you've seen these, artists performing at the beginning of the pandemic in their bedroom or their living room. And we were all kind of in this together. And now I think 6 months in, you started to see concerts and then pay-per-view concerts and then these kind of rich experiences. But that's also been true of product launches, experiential events that become virtual with brands. And we were even working with Kenny the Jet Smith, one of the hosts of Inside the NBA, came to us and said, hey, kids in the summer usually go to basketball camp and they can't do that anywhere in the world. I want to build a virtual academy where I will bring in NBA and WNBA superstars and teach the game in real time. And so the interesting thing is a lot of people have gotten very, very creative. And I think the social platforms have all kind of doubled down on live streaming. You see Instagram has, lifted the 1 hour cap for live video to 4 hours for verified accounts. So there's been this, widespread overall adoption. Certainly you've got content creators we've done a lot of things with celebrities that are stuck in the Hollywood Hills and have really poor internet connectivity, as kind of Darren points out. And you got to solve for those things, whether it's kits or connectivity. You want that content to be available to the viewer in the best possible way that it can. And I think it sets up an interesting, the word hybrid is being thrown around a lot as we return to in-person experiences. I think this is going to continue, to accelerate. You can now amplify whatever you're doing in a room, and the audience now understands how to open a player, how to consume, how to, ask a question virtually or participate in a chat. And, post-pandemic, I think this is going to be a significant trend, and you'll see monetization models with pay-per-view and or, brands powering and bringing these experiences out to a much more larger, more engaged audience.
Perfect. Adam, in your space, have you seen similar changes? Have you seen interesting new twists on the live events and so on?
No, absolutely. It was kind of cataclysmic. I mean, we were doing in 2019, we did the Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Great Pyramids, live from the middle of the desert, and we're capturing this moment in time with people and sweat and that whole thing. And then that was kind of our key, was just to capture the moment and the experience and feed it to someone live as vibrant as we could. And we did the Brothers 50 on March 10th, and then we did 3/11 30th anniversary March 11th, 12th, and 13th, and then the world ended. And we woke up the next morning and I said, I'd kind of seen it coming, and so this is going to really change things. I mean, one, Bob that sold burritos in the parking lot of the now has a streaming service. One, two, what we really wanted to do was sit back, relax, figure out a way that we could feed it to the audience in a way that's captivative, engaging, creative, something that they wouldn't just be like, oh man, I spent money on this and that was not worth it. We really wanted to figure out a way to give them a show. And I think the biggest thing that we've done from that was staying on the band's brand. And then finding out how we can tell a story, and not trying to put the band in a studio to just do the same thing. It's really working with the creative and the band. We've done Weezer at the LA Philharmonic at the Disney Center with the LA Philharmonic. We've done Sublime with Rome on an avocado farm. We worked with Jimmy Buffett on the back of his boat, playing songs just acoustic. We've done, Tiesto live at Red Rocks with Nobody, Sarah Bareilles at Hollywood Bowl, and it's all been, ways that you can take what the artist has, what the fan loves, and package it for the audience and the fan in the right way, because I think they're pretty picky. I mean, the Avett Brothers for New Year's was our most successful event just for monetarily and ticket sales. And it was really kind of a variety show that we put together. It's very unique, and we worked, Scott and I worked together on it. But, and I'll tell you this too, we're still learning. I think we're going right back to the whole capturing of the live experience, plus doing what we do now. I think they're all options to have for the artist to connect with their fan creatively and monetize it. And, I think, if you are not able to adapt in this industry right now on a split second, you're really going to get left behind.
Yep, absolutely. Mike, tell us a little bit about the sort of projects you've been involved in and what's changed over the last 12 months of the pandemic.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to make a statement that actually said COVID hasn't changed the market. It just woke everybody up to the availability of the market. And we've been working on this for quite some time, since we got into the business, because we always felt that there's this great at-home consumer market that can't be at the site. And we've been plugging away about how we create something that's really compelling for them. When you start to think about it, the devices that they consume on are digital devices that have cameras and microphones and gyros and keyboards and things like that. And the only app on those devices that doesn't leverage all of those functionalities is video, right? When you really think about it, because we're just treating it like a TV. And so we've been plugging away at this for quite some time. And what we felt was the live music space is really, really cool because, the market is constrained. If you think about true live music, it's constrained by the number of places that the band can get to and the number of seats that they can fill. And yet that audience is potentially much larger than the people that can actually go fill those seats at that particular date on that particular time. So you have a naturally constrained market, and then you have this gigantic unconstrained market. And a simple way to think about it is, let's just even think about something crazy like the Super Bowl. You have 100,000 people who can fit, shoulder to shoulder pre-COVID in the stadium, and you have 100 million people watching at home. So that's the size of the market. It's always been there. At BTS, actually, we started on this prior to COVID ever even being heard of. Nobody knew what that was. That band, like in 2019, they toured all over the place. They worked really, really hard and got to about 1 million fans. And yet their fan club, paying members of their fan club, is 40 million strong. That's 39 million people that they weren't able to address with the potential to see live music. So the ambition here is to unlock that market with something really compelling that's always been there. And COVID just sort of put an attention on the fact that, boy, when the stadium is empty, all of a sudden, oh my goodness, that's terrible. But actually, no, all it did is reawaken us to the market that's always been there, unmonetized, unserved, and there's more money to be made for the artists. So if we can make more money for this industry by serving that underserved market, then we have an obligation to do so. But we have to do so in a way that adds value to that consumer, so they really feel like they're getting something worth paid for. And that's where a lot of technology sort of has come together recently that makes that a little bit not so much a science experiment, but something that is a commercial viable product and solution. And it's been an awesome ride to try to get into that. There's a lot of cool experimentation that's going on. I mean, if I think about some of the XR technology that's been making its way to the stage, I've seen some concerts online that are more impressive online than they ever would be in person because of some of the innovative creativity that's being brought to bear with visualization. And so I think these hybrid models going forward are just going to be a great place to go forward with.
Perfect. Right now, I'd really like to go off script and start talking about the issue. I wrote an article for a magazine last quarter about music licensing and the challenges of music licensing online. But I think I don't know what's going on stateside. I know what's going on sort of Europe-wide, and I think it's been interesting because there's been. I think the licensing side of the industry has traditionally said it's working on behalf of the artists, but recently it actually became obstructive to enabling artists to make a living online and enabling them to carry on. But I fear that would take us a long way away from scaling live streaming. So I'm not going to go there. But if you feel like making any comments as you answer questions on music licensing, I'm always interested in that one. So to bring it back, I'd like to put a question to all of you. What's special about live? What's special? What is really important, and what are the scaling challenges in live? And I'm going to go back to Darren for the infrastructure challenges first of all, but then I think we can build on that in the production side. So Darren, talk to us about what the challenges are for infrastructure scaling.
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest question has been, can we see, television size audiences, cable size audiences online? Can we make that transition? Can we really fully move things away from traditional television? And I'd say, 15, 20 years into the live streaming industry, I think we're from at least from an infrastructure perspective, we're definitely there where we're on a regular basis seeing, millions up to tens of millions of viewers, in live events and having, a fairly successful delivery of those large events, right? So I would say 5 years ago, we were maybe seeing some challenges at the distribution end, maybe the downstream piece where we're trying to deliver, across last mile networks and seeing congestion there. I think those have largely been solved. Right now, we still hear about the occasional event that falls over or has to issue refunds or something happens. And generally those bottlenecks are around things like payments, signing up for the event, kind of a last minute flood of people rushing in to, pay their $50 to watch the boxing match. And, the reality is with, a little bit of preparation and a little bit of rigor in your planning, like those things are usually predictable and solvable and have plans for disaster recovery, right? It's always interesting to see the world of the internet aspiring to be like television, like broadcast. And I think in the early days, we saw, some of the downsides of that in that it, wasn't always rigorously planned. But now we're seeing kind of the broadcasters come into the world of the internet and bringing some of that rigor that you see from traditional television. So when we, for example, when we streamed the Super Bowl for Fox Sports, it was over a year of planning that went into that to look at every single point along the distribution chain from the stadium to the cloud to the user. And for each one of those steps, they had, a plan. There was no single point of failure. There was redundancy for everything. There was, run books to execute if they saw even the slightest sign of something happening. And that's obviously the Super Bowl. So you're not going to get that with every single event. But we do see that, given the current state of the internet and the infrastructure, given, the rigor that's being brought into the space, I think, these questions of, can we scale, to extremely large audiences will kind of fade to the background. And I think we'll start to see more questions along the lines of how do you attract that size of audience, or how do you keep them there, keep them engaged, and really optimize revenue for your event.
Did the quietening of the sports scene, for want of a better bracket, did the quietening of the sports scene provide some capacity for other live events in the infrastructure? Do you think that when sports comes back online and
that's a great question. So we definitely, in March of 2020, there was definitely a dip in the overall, number of live events that happened, right? A lot of the large sports leagues canceled their season or put them on pause. They had to get the right protocols in place to bring folks back. And during that time, when we saw kind of the live event business around sports kind of fall off a cliff, again, the network traffic overall continue to increase, because in that example, yes, people did shift to an SVOD service or other content that was available. But like that lasted 90 days, 60 days, not very long, right? And we're still seeing the charts going up and to the right for overall consumption. So when we talk about sports returning, coming back in a big way, we have the Olympics coming up this summer, some big events starting to happen. I think all of the infrastructure providers have had to, ensure that, their roadmaps for network growth and capacity growth, had to be moved up a little bit. It was accelerated maybe 12 to 24 months from a planning perspective to accommodate this shift in growth and traffic.
Interesting. Okay, so let's look at the production aspects of this. So, for John, for you, what's so key about live? What are the key challenges in scaling live from your side of the CDN, if you like?
Yeah, that's a hot topic right now. And first, this is not easy. You've got to kind of learn best practices and how to pull these experiences off. And on the one hand, being in this business for a long time, I'm thrilled that there's been so much attention. And I think there's like between 100 and 200 new companies have entered the market. And, I think a lot of them are, hey, I just raised some venture capital money, or I'm a former venue operator, or I'm a, traditional ticketing company, or I'm even a production house that shot commercials. And I get that they want to go out and participate in the space. And I think some of the challenges that we've seen are, they don't comprehend, infrastructure and best practices and just the basic tenet of redundancy. And, for as long as I've been in this business, we've always taken an approach, let's eliminate any single point of failure along the way. Let's have, multiple transmission paths. Let's, multiple encoding appliances, and have our NOC sit on a, multi-homed ISP, and you're going to eliminate a majority of those problems. But if you're figuring this out and you're 4 months into it, you're going to get hit. If you're doing a big experience with a massive audience, you're going to run into some challenges. I believe the providers of the world can certainly serve the video. And to, Darren's point, a lot of it's, knowing that you're going to get an influx of ticket buyers or viewers. They're going to, I come out of, I sold my prior live streaming company to AEG, who operates, all kinds of businesses in the live event world. And, the digital experience is different from when you put a tour or an event on sale. In the real world, everyone would rush to buy their tickets, and they want the best seat they can possibly buy. And in the digital world, it's more of a U-shape, right? So when things are announced or they're offered, you'll get a lift, and someone will come and people will buy those tickets. But the audience understands that if they buy the day of the show or they come into an experience, they're going to get, quote, the best seat in the house anyway. And why not hold on to your money until, you need to actually do that transaction. And at those inflection points, I think, people need to learn and understand, how that operates. And then the other thing is, when we talk about best practices in these experiences, if you put video up for the sake of putting the video up, it's not going to be a great experience, right? If it's surveillance video or webcam video, even if you've got, Jay-Z or The Weeknd performing, people are they'll come and they'll check it out. But the question is, are they going to stick around? And you need to really transform the viewer into a participant, give them the ability maybe to change, a camera perspective, the ability to have a chat, but the chat needs to be related to the video. It can't be filled with rhetoric and nonsense and off-topic commentary. But then even turning on things like live polling or trivia, graphics, calls to action, especially if you want to attract, a millennial or a Gen Z consumer. They want to have a truly interactive experience. And again, I think that's a little bit of a learned, science, right? So I think, we're a lot of these new companies are learning, which is terrific. And there's been a lot of investment in the space. But at the end of the day, I think the audience has now grown to a place where, we don't want to accept underperforming video or, losing audio, or just the show not performing properly, or not even making it to the air, which I think is a couple of those things have happened more recently. I think the infrastructure and the tools are available out there, but, these new operators need to comprehend those commandments and execute around them.
Adam, from your point of view, what are the things that are key about live, and what are the challenges in scaling those things, especially innovation? Picking up from John's point there, especially as you introduce a new interactive feature that you might not have tried before. How do you make sure that that's not a single point of failure that's going to crash something?
Well, with us, I mean, we are, that's usually behind us. That usually happens after us. We're kind of like the icebreaker to this whole thing. We started in 2014. We did our first cinematic live stream with the Ava brothers, and we all went home and watched the melt, and we're like, wow, we got something. We captured something in a way. We did, ours is very craft. It's very cinematic. It's very storytelling. I totally agree with John in the fact that you have to find something for, it has to be captivating. It has to be full. There has to be a story. There has to be a reason to watch it. It has to look professional. It can't just be showing people this. And I think too, what I've learned is I was bought out by a sports company, and sports techniques do not work for music. They work great for sports. Sports is very factual. Sports is very fast. Sports is very now. Music is people want to go and leave their problems behind for 2.5 hours. They want to leave their kids, their mortgage, everything. They want to have an experience. And that artist is really the the pastor or the leader or the shaman or the storyteller of that. So what we're trying to do is capture that. So, you know, the way we do it, where there's a real kind of hands-on approach to that is, you know, we've kind of had to re-engineer that side, but we've also figured out, you know, coming from the large scale Expando sports trucks, that we would go in there and we owned all that stuff, and we would use a portion of that truck. It was about a 20th of what we needed for that. So I would rather concentrate on simplicity, the actual equipment that you actually need on site and on set. I like, we've had all that, but I have these hybrid trucks, these mobile cinema units where we pull our truck in, we can cut it out of the truck, make the truck an entire workflow, or we can pull it all out. I prefer, when either I'm directing or one of my directors are directing, is to be part of the show, not in a truck over here. I like to feel the energy and I like to feel the people. And I think if the directors and the people and the creative and the cameraman and all those pieces of the puzzle are feeling that energy, like I felt as we were talking about with Mary Clayton, where it kind of, you have that experience where it comes through your body. I think that equates to the viewer. And listen, I mean, I think redundancy and simplicity and, you know, I think getting rid of the ego that you have to look good, you have to have all these things. Let's spend the money on the right things to do this. Let's spend the money on what actually is needed for streaming, because there's an old thought process with sports and live broadcast television, and it's like, bring everything on the face of the planet to there. Let's have 20 satellites. Let's have this and that. And some of that is needed, but some of it is, as we evolve to this, let's concentrate a little bit more on the internet signal that we have there, the infrastructure at the building, the things that you're a couple backups with bonded and satellite or whatever you are there, and thinking through that, just so that workflow is tight, precise. And then you guys, I can hand, you know, our creativity safely over to the network in a beautiful, packaged, creative way, so that it is safely given to the world through all the platforms.
Perfect, Adam. Mike, so for you, what are the key things that make live so critically important, and what as we bring that into an online experience and perhaps add some of these interactive layers and add these new capabilities to try to make it as engaging as possible, what are the scaling challenges that you've hit in doing those things?
You know, I think, you know, I happen to be on a panel with some OGs, right, who I'm grateful to be on. I think what people probably don't realize about us is that we've actually been in business since 2013, doing multi-camera interactive digital, you know, types of experiences pounding away. And prior to that, most of us came out of, 20 some odd years in telecom. And telecom, supporting, for example, the likes of Verizon and China Mobile and China Unicom and, True Mobile, and building 5 nines availability communication networks. And 5 nines availability communications networks, for those who don't know what 5 nines availability is, it's related to the downtime of this thing. It works. It always works. You pick it up, you need to make a phone call even when there's an emergency, and it works. And so that was our approach to building this, but we tried to do so in a cloud native way. And that actually, I think, was maybe the major shift for us. But because of that, we are a full stack provider. And we said there are lots of really good companies that are out there that are experts in one piece. But for us to go stitch all those pieces together, what we find is that you can make that thing work in like a linear fashion and stitch them together in happy days. But it's brittle at the boundaries. And so, because this company does it a certain way, and then when there's a handoff through APIs or servers or data loads or whatever, things get a little bit jumbled. And it's when you stress that network, when that brittle boundary starts to break. And so as a result, we said, look, here's what we're doing. Like it or not, we're going to build the whole thing soup to nuts. So glass to glass, using best-in-class partners like companies like Verizon, like companies like AWS, like companies that actually know how to build communication networks. And we're going to build it with geo redundancy. So if you go through our stack, we have redundancy all over the place. We have MOPS, methods and procedures in order to manage this, because live is hard. And by the way, we still see this today with the biggest names in the industry, not even just the startups. We still see outages and failures related to this. It is hard. And if we would then want to go take that next step to say, we want to be creative, right? So for example, as Adam was saying, like, we have some creative capabilities that are coming. And by the way, we take dings all the time from artists and management teams and labels, because we tend to be somewhat inflexible. And the reason we're inflexible is because I just poured $1 bazillion into a gigantic load testing system that we built. So that way, this thing guaranteed, if 5 million people show up in the last 2 minutes in order to buy a ticket and want to get in, I got you. And it's not going to fall down. And by the way, it will fall down otherwise. So that's why we tend to be inflexible when people get, and I've lost business because they said, hey, you wouldn't change this website this way or make it this particular way. And you're right. You know what? I respect your artist so much that I'm not going to change it. And because I'm going to make sure the damn thing works. And I think that's an appropriate philosophy when we want to talk about something that is live for a consumer we care about, is that we actually have to realize that if we want a 5 nines availability, we have to respect the platform. And then it's when you have that sort of closed environment, then you can start adding on the interactive features, because you understand the interplay between what is happening with respect to either ticketing or loading or piracy controls or chat or widgets or polls or whatever. It's only in that environment that you can say, look, I guarantee, whether it's a mobile web and they're sitting in Brazil or they're in Russia, that they're going to have a great experience. And I think that's the mindset that we've taken in order to build this. And over time, what I love is all the new players that have come in, massive innovative ideas. I mean, they're so creative. And I love the fact that people are funding this creativity. I welcome that. But I do acknowledge there's maybe sort of the impact in the market is that they're including myself, because by the way, we are not guilty of not having failure. We've blown up in times that I'm embarrassed, and we owned and we paid for, and we're accountable for it. I hate the fact that we did it, but even old dogs like us have mistakes, and we fixed it. But I think there has been a lot of noise that has emerged in the live streaming business. And so we're going to have to kind of overcome a little bit of that negative connotation that has emerged in certain cases with folks that rush to market with some cobbled solutions that maybe haven't been quite as robust as the industry needs in order to help us get on a good footing going forward. But I'm confident we'll overcome this. I mean, this is a long road, so we're in for the play.
So I wanted to just touch base on something you've mentioned there, where everyone's mentioned redundancy and planning and so on. And Darren, coming back to you on the infrastructure side. So with just briefly wearing my own software company hat, we specialize in building live CDNs, basically, live streaming CDNs. We've been doing it for a decade or so, largely focused on financial services and news. So I think we deliver something north of 100,000 live events a year in that environment. We, and as Mike was saying, one of the challenges you get is trying not to be inflexible as people come in with left of field requests. There you are, you've got the one-to-many, whatever it may be, WebRTC, low latency HLS stream running, and somebody comes in from a left of field thinking, but I want to be able to do this kind of watch now feature, or I want to be able to do this hook into a social media feed and get the titles displayed and so on. You get these left of field requests. How do you as Verizon deal with those niche cases and those edge cases? Do you push those back out, or have you got a rapid prototyping model? How do you make sure that you can introduce that type of feature to keep people engaged with the new while not breaking the stability of the core platform?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. That there are a lot of new requests coming in, right? And maybe this is one of the effects of the pandemic, finally coming through. But in the last 12 months, we've certainly seen a greater willingness to innovate around the live experience than we've ever seen, right? Like, even from traditional lean back television providers who have said, my job is just to, deliver the bits to the screen. The viewers just want to relax on the couch. Even those, traditional diehards in that space are coming around to the fact that, for a period of 12 months, people couldn't go to the pub to watch the Premier League match on Saturday. They couldn't go to the stadium. They couldn't go see the game live at the pitch to actually be there with their friends, right? So for us, that means, yes, increased complexity in some of the downstream distribution pieces. I would say any good platform should be modular enough that you can isolate challenges to their unique parts, right? So, the challenges of providing interactive experiences shouldn't also affect, your upstream encoding or production workflows. That should be kind of self-contained and modular to whatever degree you can. And then downstream, when you're thinking about implementing those new kinds of experiences, you have to apply the same kind of rigor to that, planning, integration, and testing that you do for any other parts of the network, right? It definitely involves, preparing ahead of time. The first time you see that new feature used at scale should not be on the day of your event. You should be, well in advance of that, having some sort of beta test or a soft launch with friends and family. There is testing and tooling available now to a degree that we've never seen before, where you can simulate things. You can, actually interact with different pieces of the platform in different ways at scale using some load tests. So for us, it's all part and parcel, right? There's no one kind of solution. The television broadcast workflows is constrained by design. They have specs, they have formats defined so that it will work everywhere. The web is not like that. And as a result, you do have to invest more time up front to ensure that whatever you're putting out there has been tested thoroughly at scale, before your event happens. Because especially with live, this is true for everybody. You have one shot really to execute a live event and to have it go well. You can't tell the Super Bowl like, whoa, hold up, take a pause here while we fix the CDN issue, or stop the Olympics while we figure out why our video chat co-viewing feature isn't working, right? That can happen. And once the event happens, it's not like the VOD asset itself has a similar amount of value. It's true that you can watch things on demand, but especially for live events, being there, being in the experience and seeing it as it happens, whether it's sports and learning the facts and seeing the score, or it's a concert and being there and being part of the storytelling experience, like you have to get it right when it's live, and for that you really can't leave anything to chance in the lead up to the event.
Cool. Right. So listen, time has flown. We've got 12 minutes. There is a question in the Q&A which I'd like to come to, but I'm going to try and pack that in at the end. But there's a sort of whole pillar we need to look at about monetization and about engaging an audience, presumably to the point that you can monetize that audience growth and so on. And I'm really interested from John and Adam and Mike's point of view, what you guys are doing, what you're advising your clients to do to increase that engagement, hopefully to the point that it makes everyone some money. So John, what jumps to mind when you think about engaging audiences and converting that into hopefully a revenue stream, or at least indirect revenue stream? Tell us what it is.
Well, the most disrupted industry in the face of the earth for the last 10 years has been the advertising and the marketing industry, right? A $503 billion industry that saw the way they monetized shift from traditional linear television, billboards, et cetera, over to connected, real-time devices. And I see that as a massive opportunity for live streaming, right? The average consumer attention span has fallen from like 12 seconds down to 8 seconds in the last couple of years, and now it's probably even smaller. The beauty of live streaming is it unlocks unparalleled watch time, right? We do experiences for brands and the audience is tuned in for 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. And the feedback is, I can't get someone's attention for 4 seconds. And here I have a captive audience that I can do calls to action with. And we did an analysis of everything we did across we do offer a white labeled solution for a brand. We've done this for, AT&T, for Nestle, for Coca-Cola, Hyundai, and even for music artists that want to do this, themselves direct to the consumer. And the average watch time across all of those experiences was 41 minutes. That to me is, I think everyone's hyper-focused on things like pay-per-view, but advertising is, I think, is a truly massive, massive opportunity. And for brands, it's a fraction of what they would spend on traditional television ads. And let's be honest, the consumer that they're trying to reach is not planted in front of the TV on Thursday night, watching Law and Order and sitting through, a State Farm commercial. They're on their connected.
We also give real statistics in the streaming industry, which I think makes a big
Great
difference
point
for advertisers.
True, and that one of the beauties of this is you can get really terrific data, where people are, how long they're watching, what device they're on, and we deliver reports back to our clients, that show them what percentage of the audience is on iOS versus Android. Right, that's really compelling and interesting data, which should also be true for a music artist. Like, years ago, we started streaming, when I was at AEG, Lollapalooza on YouTube. And the promoter got the reports and was like, wow, we have a massive audience that watches Lollapalooza outside the US. And today it's in Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Sweden, Paris, Berlin, and this is tremendous, powerful data. But the big thing, I can't emphasize enough, I think watch time is a massive, massive opportunity. If you want to sponsor the NFL and, Verizon, I think it's like $1 billion sponsorship. 4 brands in the world have that kind of spending power, but you could even hire emerging collaboration of artists and live stream those shows out and do it properly. You can get some really compelling return for your dollars, and the audience loves it. Historically, from what I've seen, if it's done in an engaging environment, they're thrilled that they're being brought this experience by Toyota, for instance, and they're providing that feedback in the social stream as well. But I see that as a huge opportunity. I mean, clearly pay-per-view has skyrocketed. There's $610 million in revenue just in the last 6 months of 2020. That's a real business. You're seeing Live Nation has acquired Veeps as a pay-per-view streaming company. So the sky's the limit. I try to stay neutral. I have clients that do subscription, that do pay-per-view, and I have brand clients. But I think, focusing and leaning into watch time, I think, is the holy grail for monetization.
Adam?
Yeah, I think everybody's exactly on it. I think that, you're right. In streaming, we have 38 minutes. The last time I checked is how long people engage on average with our stuff. I think the biggest key that I have is that do not step away from what the heart and soul of the band is, what the show is, what the client, the fan, the people that give their lives for these bands are. Give them the show, and it can be creative and it can be this, but it has to be on the band's brand. And I think then if you can put that together and really capture the band and their essence and everything that they have in their performance and their live show, then you can either sell a ticket and the people feel great about selling the ticket and buying the poster and buying the shirt, just like coming to a live show. And as John said, putting a shell of Toyota or Verizon or, whoever around it, it doesn't feel like it's, getting rammed down. The products are getting rammed down their throat, or they're getting this. It has to be truly organic. You don't want Jimmy Buffett on a sound stage with a bunch of electronic. You need him in front of a palm tree. Like it has to feel that. And when that happens, people will engage and go in their backyards and put little palm trees and buy the t-shirts and wear all of these pieces of the puzzle. And it's not about the size of it. It's about capturing the essence and the moment and the feeling and that. And if people, the fan, and I know Mike, coming from the world of the most powerful fans on the face of the planet, if the fan feels a part of it, you got them. Like you got to bring them into it. And if they're into it, you're good. You're going to get a positive review on the backside.
Very sage advice. Mike, what's your take on how to engage the audience and monetize them?
Yeah, first of all, I think Adam gave me the lead in to acknowledge the incredible army that is behind BTS, and we're fortunate. We just I was telling the team we were acknowledged at the Webby Award this week for some of the concerts that we did with BTS, and I really have to give that over to the BTS army. It was really because of them that we were acknowledged for that, and we do this for them. And to this day, I get emails from the army about how they're how they, appreciative of what we do and what they expect of us, which is great. When it comes to monetization, I think we're at day zero of learning on what will be a long journey of understanding of how to go and properly monetize that at-home consumer in a way that is genuine. Price ticket might change for PPV, things like that. So I think we have to work on our understanding of the evolution of the market. The live in-person industry is really, well known. I go there, they sell me a ticket, to like a VIP pass. They sell me a parking spot. They sell me a Coke or a beer or a glass of wine. They sell me a T-shirt, CD, things like that. That's well defined. And in the digital world, I think there are elements of that, but then I think there are other new, really exciting opportunities. John was mentioning data. We do live behavioral data. I actually know how the audience feels at a moment in time. And when you know that, you can actually start moving into dynamic ads. Which is a really cool type of new thing that we really haven't been thinking about, which is dynamically priced ad spots once you understand how the audience is feeling. And by the way, that varies by geography. And so different demographics feel differently at different points in time for global audiences, and you can go leverage that. And we've been studying that. The other thing is that you can still do the traditional like physical good thing, but because of digital commerce, you have more expansive opportunities. So it has to be authentic and genuine. But for example, the fashion and beauty and makeup market is one-in-one with K-pop. It doesn't have to be just a T-shirt anymore. I mean, there are some expansive lifestyle like things, or integrate the limited drops of shoe culture with respect to things that you can go in and drive in the digital world. That might be a little bit harder when you're showing up just at an arena. And then digital stickers. And I think this is something where we have to start blending markets, where we realize that in the gaming world, in the influencer world, in the digital economy, there are things like gifting and bidding and tipping and digital stickers. And those are places to go and bring things together. So I come to it with a really open mind about where we're going to go. We have very early days in our experimentation, but I don't want to necessarily hold fast to like traditional brick and mortar type monetization methods. We should have an open mind, go experiment, be willing to fail, and we'll see how this works. But net, if the objective is make more money for the industry, we'll ultimately get to the right spot.
No, I love a good panel when you've only got halfway through the questions list. There's a ton more questions. The speakers could go on for another hour, and Eric's face pops up. And the only questions we've got in the Q&A we've obviously answered everything else, because we've got some tech support questions, which I think maybe Darren and I should go and have a look at and answer manually. But Eric, wasn't that a good panel? Awesome.
That was terrific. Yeah, boy, it was great hearing about, as I said at the outset, both the technical challenges, but also the business, and I hate to even call them just business challenges, right? Because as everyone has said, you're bringing an experience to fans, you're sharing experiences that sports teams and creators and musicians are putting together and making it the best overall experience for everyone. So yeah, that was great.
What I love about live streaming is it just brings the whole stack together. Every element of everything has to work, and it has to work in the moment. And yeah, just to plug it, we're going to be talking a lot more about the infrastructure side of all that on Tuesday at the Content Delivery Summit. So join us then.
Yes, indeed. All right. Thanks again, Dom. Thanks again to all of our panelists. That was terrific. And I'd also like to thank once again Verizon Media for sponsoring this session, and Signiant for sponsoring all of Streaming Media East Connect. We'll be back in about a half an hour with a discussion about content protection. See you then.
When the director calls action.
And action.
When the game is on.
Pick it up. It's good.
Or it's time to save the universe again. Media Shuttle is there. Trusted by more than 25,000 media companies, Media Shuttle delivers, making it easy and secure to send any size file anywhere fast. The journey begins with Media Shuttle portals, customized and branded for any project and designed to be so easy, your end users will love it. All while giving operations teams complete control through a simple yet powerful admin interface. Add users, set permissions, customize file delivery specs, and report on all activity. Blast off with proprietary acceleration technology. Media Shuttle moves your content anywhere in the internet-connected world at hyper speeds. Along the way, your files are protected, Our commitment to enterprise-grade security has made Media Shuttle a preferred tool with Hollywood studios, major sports leagues, broadcasters, and more. With Media Shuttle, your files are never handed over to Signiant. File movement is orchestrated between the end user's workstation and your storage, whether on-prem or in the cloud. Your IT team simply provisions your storage, connecting it to the Media Shuttle cloud service, and Signiant handles the rest. Get started on your Media Shuttle journey today, a journey without limits.